Hello, it's great pleasure today to have here Professor Tehan, professor at the Teesside University from United Kingdom. He's an expert of several fields, actually. He comes from the intersection of complex systems and artificial intelligence. And particularly, he's developing very cool research regarding trustworthy AI, but rather than from an angle that is closer to either humanities or law, he wants to exploit game theory. So the theory of mathematics, trying to develop models, trying to let large language models and modern AI frameworks to interact, do stuff, and eventually come up with quantitative insights. So this is a little bit of the framework behind, but I'd like to ask directly Professor Tehan, in a nutshell, what is your research about?
Thank you so much, Daniel, for having me. In my research, we use in this, as you mentioned, game theory, which is a mathematical framework for understanding human behavior. To
Basically,
understand,
the
yeah,
theory from the Beautiful Mind movie, correct?
exactly,
So try
exactly.
and put into numbers the behavior of people, of machines.
Indeed, yeah. It's been used a lot to understand human behaviors, to understand also animal behaviors. When game theory was extended to the so-called evolutionary game theory, where it also can capture the dynamics of interactions and how the population evolves over time. And as you was talking about applications of this area, this technique to AI trust and trustworthy AI system, uh, we did the last few years we was using evolutionary game theory to understand AI governance. So basically, we try to capture the interactions between different actors in an AI development ecosystem, uh, including the AI developers, which can be companies, governments, or individual AI developers, and the users of AI systems. And in that ecosystem, you also have to look at the behaviors of regulators. So the regulatory bodies like the governments, or also you can also have private auditors and private regulators. So we want to use this sort of dynamical framework to capture in a mathematical way the interactions between different actors in this AI governance ecosystem. And from there, we try to indeed to try to gain rigorous insights on, for example, what behavior would emerge when, for example, the regulator would invest on high quality uh, uh, regulatory technologies to ensure that uh, AI developers would comply with safety standards. And we want to look at when developers would cooperate
Mhm.
and in the sense that they would develop AI in a safe and ethical and responsible way.
So basically, if I got it correctly, instead of gathering developers, politicians, and whatnot, you basically say, okay, let's imagine that if one makes an action, like I develop an AI system or I regulate an AI system or whatnot, they gain something in terms of money, if it's a company, in terms of good reputation, if it's a politician, or I guess even a journalist or someone else. And so you try to put numbers about what people are actually gaining by choosing, by making actions. And then you create, can we call it a digital replica of a small society?
Yeah, you can say that. You can say you put the population, the people into a simulations, let's say.
All right. So you make a computer simulation and you imagine, okay, if a politician does a certain action and gains something out of that action, and if the population buys an AI, if a company develops an AI that has certain characteristics, when all of them group together and act together, what's the outcome? Like, would people eventually buy the AI system? Would regulators eventually, I don't know, create laws maybe? Or
Yes,
would developers try to maximize their income just by selling
exactly. Yeah,
whatever?
yeah,
Or are they trying to create something that is more ethical, maybe even at the price of getting slightly less revenues? Is that
yep.
correct?
Yeah, that exactly that. Yeah, so we try to model all these interactions and we try to quantify the
Mm-hmm.
interactions so we can put, okay, given the actions of each party in this source we call game. So let's say a game between a regulator, a developer, and a user. So depending on the actions from each party, we can put a number which
Mm-hmm.
represent the gain each actor would receive from the interactions. For example, if we say the regulator actually doing the job and try to regulate uh, the safety of so regulate the development of the AI system uh, and and the developer actually follows all the safety standards. So then it's likely that the user would uh, be able to use a safe technologies. They would gain the maximum possible benefit from adopting the technologies
Mm-hmm.
without any sort of potential unsafe or disaster that might be caused by a system that it was not developed in a safe way.
Yeah, this is fascinating because, well, of course, you get the great advantage that everything is inside a computer. So I guess you base your simulations on studies from like the social sciences, right?
Mm,
So
Yeah, yeah.
psychology, sociology. So try and
So
understanding what's the like the basic ingredients, can we call them like this,
exactly,
of
yeah.
human behavior.
So is this based on actually it's based on the very well established principles of evolution. So you have
Hmm.
uh, you basically the behavior that is more successful will be copied by others. So that's the successful strategies of behavior
Makes
would
sense.
spread in the population, while the behavior that is not successful would disappear in the populations. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
this
that
makes
is the
total
principle
sense.
of evolution. Yes.
Yeah, and how you were mentioning not only you wanted to see, okay, like what's going on between interaction among the public, among the developers, the regulators, and so on, but also like incentivize trustworthy AI. How does that come into play?
So, yeah, it did. That is actually a very important part of my research. So, by creating the what we call the baseline models that captures very well the behaviors and the interactions between all the actors I mentioned, then we have a model where we can start exploring in simulations using mathematical equations what kind of policy, what kind of interventions and incentives that we can use to drive the evolutionary dynamics in a beneficial way. For example, from the baseline model where, for example, we have no interventions, uh,
Hmm.
the populations is predicted to go to a very bad state where, for example, regulator doesn't want to do the job. Uh, AI developer just try to speed up as much as possible and to gain, to be ahead of other companies.
Hmm.
We see a lot of that nowadays.
Yeah.
Uh, and basically user would not trust such uh, uh, AI system because they say, okay, regulator doesn't do the job.
Hmm.
Uh, Developers tend to just speed up, and so it's likely that they ignore certain safety standard and precautions. So why would I adopt any AI? So that would be the worst possible outcome we can get. But now the question is, given that, how can we introduce certain interventions like uh, uh, we can make users more informed about
Hmm. Sure.
the reputations of the regulators. We show in our research that if users can be informed about whether the regulator actually doing the jobs very well,
Hmm.
even without knowing directly about the activity or the reputations of the developers, we can drive the system into a much better uh, positions where user would trust AI system which was safely developed and the regulator actually do the job because
Mm.
now they have the incentives to actually do the job because they can get the reputations from that they and let's say if regulators are voted by users in the populations, then that is the gain they would get by actually doing their job. Yeah, but in order to have that happening, they need to be source of monitor. Their reputation needs to be known by the users. Yeah.
Hmm. So
Uh,
we go back to transparency not only of the AI
exactly. Yeah.
systems, but transparency about the like the public servants, so that
Exactly.
they
That's an
are.
interesting observation because we don't need transparency from AI system, uh,
Mhm.
from AI development. If by having the transparency from the public servants, like they actually doing their job, they actually invest on auditing AI developments, then it's already sufficient for uh, for AI adoptions and trustworthy
Hmm.
development.
Yeah, this is impressive because so far we have been mostly working in a, let's say, technocentric approach, where everything is placed upon the technology, whereas you basically shift the focus on what's the ecosystem around the technology. So let's boost transparency and trustworthiness of the whole society that is around the technology. So of course we want the algorithms to be accessible, to be interpretable and whatnot. But then we also want everybody involved into controlling the technology to be reliable, transparent,
Exactly.
and this enhances the. You were referencing to like adoption, meaning basically that eventually the users start using the AI, but also that the AI is somehow trustworthy towards the users, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we it's only good if the user trusts and adopt AI if it was safely developed. It was not
Mhm.
safely developed. Actually, it's better that the users uh, refuse to adopt it. Yeah.
I
But
see.
how can user be informed about that? How can they know about whether a system would be reliable, would be safe? Uh, and usually the users do not have the capability to
Mhm.
actually check the system.
Yeah, makes sense. They are
Nowadays, we
super
have a lot of
complicated.
black box system. It's impossible for an users to actually do that, and they need the regulatory bodies like the auditors, the regulators to do the job for them.
Mhm.
And uh, and I think that that is key. Yeah, it is key to have a responsible AI governance to benefit the users.
Yeah, this is very insightful because I was recently reading a few reports from, I think it was McKinsey, Stanford University, and some other reporting bodies who were actually interviewing people and about the trust towards AI, about what they would like to see from AI development. And they were basically answering the same things that you are describing. But the cool thing is that basically interviews from real people and mathematical models are basically in agreement because you could really see from those reports that the trust in AI, since it was not very well explained and so on, is sometimes also diminishing in a few countries, like from 2022 up to like a few months ago. It can shift, it can diminish, and many people are actually calling for lawmaking, for better auditing, for better like explanation of what's going on. Because of course we all like to have like an image of a, I don't know, cat playing guitar or whatnot.
Mhm.
Okay, it's fun, fantastic, but once the fun stops, they really go into real life, and there you really want someone to check if it's going well, like a car, right?
Yes,
You
yeah,
want the car not only to work, but to consistently work, to be safe, to
exactly.
be checked
Yeah.
by a third party.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So also one advantage of mathematically modeling all this aspect. So you can actually determine what is the level, for example, of transparency you need
Hmm.
to have to make it work. Yeah. Rather
Like,
than
is there a
qualitatively, we actually can do it quantitatively.
in a way of there's a minimum level such that afterward it works, or there's a
Exactly.
maximum level
Yeah.
after which it diminishes?
Yeah, here we have a highly dynamical system where
Uh-huh.
uh, it can go one way or the other easily. If, for example, let's say we have in our model, what is the level of transparency you need? Yeah,
Hmm.
so how, given a certain effort from auditor, how likely they can find out about the unsafe development of a developer?
Mm.
Then we say, okay, how high this probability need to be in order for the system to go to into a beneficial equilibrium, while lower than that, it can go completely the other way around.
Hmm. So
So,
it's a
so this
collective
is,
effort.
yes,
It's not depending on just one actor or one technology. It's a matter of
exactly.
pulling together a collective of different actors, and each of them should behave as at least as good as your thresholds. Otherwise, you just end up with a technology that nobody uses because they don't trust it, and eventually everybody loses.
Yeah, and this methods evolutionary game theory is one very interesting feature that we call is uh, frequency dependent. So basically, the dynamic of the system uh, depends on the current compositions of the populations. Let's say how many users trust and how many users do not trust, and how many developers in the system actually doing things in safe way, etc. So that is the depending on where the system start. Yeah, it can actually go one way or the other. Yeah, so it
Hmm.
allows you to make predictions in a frequency dependent way. Yeah, so given the current uh, status, the compositions of the populations, you can actually make predictions where it goes next. So
So the predictions can kind of adapt about the
exactly.
current state of the population. Let's imagine there's a prevalence of, I don't know, now I'm simplifying a little bit too much, but let's say from millennials versus a lot of Gen Zs. And then you can say, well, if one or the other is more vocal, more present, more driving the evolution of the innovation, because now we talk about the innovation, not the technology itself. So including the whole concert of actors and the ecosystem that is involved. Depending on who's there, we might have different outcomes. And therefore, we must understand who are our users, I guess.
Yeah.
So age, interests, fears, concerns, and so on, and what is actually driving the development of AI, whether it's just to break even or to make a technology that really becomes an innovation and spreads throughout society.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this research is very interesting. Do you also have publications that we can reference our audience if they want to know more, whether they are more academic or more like for the broader public?
Yes, we published quite a few papers over the last 4 or 5 years. So yeah, we have we actually there's also actually the conversations article where we write
Mhm.
for broader audience. Of course, I'm happy to to provide. You can check my website or Google Scholar, whatever. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be very interesting. Also, when we release the video and the interview, we might link your articles. That would be very fascinating to complement. Because eventually, what we're describing is, well, first an academic endeavor, but then something that impacts everybody. Because eventually, you're basically getting insights first about the power of the collective. So it's not only like one way, let's say, an AI company deciding whatever needs to be done, and all the others just bear with that decision.
Mhm.
It's not only regulators, because a lot of people are actually complaining, well, regulation such as the EU AI Act or the UK regulatory acts for AI, uh, many people just complain, oh, they are killing innovation. But actually, your work is demonstrating the fact that through the interaction with the public, that regulation is actually enhancing innovation in such a way that can be safely adopted by the people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So it for me is this ecosystem, this AI governance ecosystem. Uh, it has many components. So in order to capture the true dynamics of this ecosystem, we need to take into account the different aspects, the different cultural factors and environment factors. For example, how fast technology is being developed, and there's also this aspect of structural power. Because you see lots of big companies nowadays, they can gain uh, significant power concentration. So
Mhm,
lots of companies get lots of users, and they basically dominate uh, the AI development ecosystem. And because they have lots of capacity, uh, usually regulate I think when we introduce strict regulations, those companies are even less affected because they can survive. And why small companies,
mhm,
it's very difficult for them to deal with all these small uh, uh, things. Yeah, it's very difficult for them to comply with strict regulations.
mm, I see. And are you also in touch with companies or policymakers to make your research, let's say, more actionable?
Uh, uh, I work yeah I kind of involved. So there was an AI policy summit
Hmm.
event in Stockholm last year, where actually I had an opportunity to meet with many people who try to push more research in of AI policies. And one thing everybody agree is that we need more investment on on rigorous research
Hmm.
about AI policy instead of just some uh, yeah, just talking or brainstorming. We need some for example, evidence-based
Hmm.
research. We need to collect more data uh, uh, to inform this sort of data-driven policy research. Yeah, this is something that actually I want to do more and more.
Hmm.
So one of the things we've been doing is to run behavior experiments
With real people.
with real people, uh, and so we developed this game called AI Race game, where we have the game between different AI developers, and they race towards
Mm.
let's say AI supremacy in a certain domain, and they can have a different speed in their development. And we want to see when we see some sort of disaster, because when they speed up, they have to uh, it's more likely that some sort of AI disaster would happen. And we already published quite a few academic papers on that, and we recently run a series of experiments with humans in
Hmm.
collaboration with an behavior economist to see, okay, whether people actually behave in a similar way as predicted by our mathematical models.
Hmm. Do
It
they?
was really interesting. Yeah, we all observed something very, very different from
Huh.
the models, because at the beginning, yeah, because it was very first models of the AI race, and we simplify different aspects. But then from the experiments, we actually can revise our models
Sure.
and make our models much better captures the experimental data.
Yeah, and this will be like golden, I guess, for policymakers, but also for the companies, because the feeling is that currently technology is there. I mean, ChatGPT was launched already almost 3 years ago, which for AI is like ages. So we have the technology, we had or have had the hype, and now it's time to get into normal times, right?
Mhm.
To settle, to develop everything that surrounds the technology itself, as you mentioned. So, um, how to regulate, how to be reliable, and eventually, most likely, the developers are not only pushing for more power, but also to race on marketing, on getting closer to people needs, getting closer to what people are actually learning or doing using the technologies, and therefore everything is within a society. And if you manage to create those models and potentially even predict, I don't know, like 5 months in advance what could happen, that would be a great asset, not only like academically, but also for, again, regulators, developers, and everybody.
Yes, that's our hope. But of course, one thing we always talk about modeling is all models are wrong.
Sure.
So, but we always hope that the models would provide some insights
Hmm.
uh, for us to act on. Yeah, model for me, modeling is a very good tool for brainstorming, for understanding why certain things happened, and of course, based on that, you can make predictions. But it's more for me, it's for more for understanding,
Hmm.
yeah, a certain phenomena.
Yeah, and
And
also for synthesizing, I guess.
exactly, yeah.
I see your types of models are very useful at synthesizing, because a lot of like people from informatics mostly look at the technology. People from political sciences maybe look more on the angle of the political sciences and policymakers. Whereas putting all of them together and really give a sense of, okay, it's a lot of tiny pieces that need to interact, need to click together, and eventually and collectively shape the future. That's super important. Yeah. I have one last question, if you don't mind,
Okay.
which is, do AI systems in general reflect or at least give answers when asked about whether they do trust their own regulators?
I think we indeed did some experiments with the recent large language models. We have this uh, regulations game, and we asked the AI, the large language model, to play the roles of a regulator, of
Mm.
users, and of developers. Uh, I don't recall exactly the outcomes, but I think what we observed is that the AIs actually do not really trust the regulators as we predict
Mhm.
in our models. So we have to see that lots of these large language models predictions are biased by the data they were trained
Mhm.
on. Why the game theoretical models were based on uh, on numbers, based on
Hmm. On
precise
ideals.
principles. So, because of this bias, that the AI system learn from real users' behavior, whether users trust regulators. They actually this AI system which were trained on user data actually trust the AI regulator much less compared to what being predicted by
So, yeah, this
model.
might say something like as a mirror about our own thoughts.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So there are lots of from I like this sorts of new large language models. They're very helpful uh, for s- uh, for studying. Yeah, to understand better about us, because they actually train very much based on what people do, what people think, and what the data out there. Why these mathematical models we have are more sort of optimistic. Yeah, so
More
based on
ideal.
principles rather than real data. So, these combinations of mathematical models and large language model experiments, which we've been starting doing, are really, really cool, really great avenue for future research. Yeah.
Great. Then, that was fascinating. Thank you very much for the talk. I think as usual, there are many, many things we can keep on discussing, perhaps on a second episode. But for today, I think we reached a good length, a good level of details and insights. So thank you very much, Professor Tehan, and
Thank you so much,
it's
Daniel.
been a great pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
And have a great day.
You too.